Hey everyone, thank you for joining us for the 4th annual Connect Amplify Luncheon. I'm Galen Hines-Pierce and I'm a board member with Connect. This is my wife, Laura Hines-Pierce. This is our son, August.
Everyone is a little zoomed out these days, and we know this has been a difficult year, but that is especially true for nonprofits like Connect. So we really appreciate you taking time to join us today and support this event.
That's right, and as Laura said, this has been a difficult year for many people, and that's certainly the case also for organizations, small but mighty nonprofits like Connect, who really are serving a community that has been disparately impacted by COVID and really is going to need as much support as we're able to give it through Connect and Ann and all of the staff at Connect and all the great work that they're doing with their partners in the golfing community. This year's theme, Revival, is very appropriate then, really focusing on looking back at our past and honoring it, but also uniting, looking forward for the future, a future that we're going to have to choose to rebuild consciously at the other end of this pandemic. And on that note, we're going to hear from Golfing resident, whose story really sort of embodies that theme. And so without further ado, to kick things off with the invocation, I'll turn things over to David Horton, pastor at St. Luke's Gethsemane.
Hi, friends. There's a Yiddish proverb that says, man plans and God laughs. I know we all had plans for 2020 that didn't quite work out, but here's what's been working for me, okay? I've been trying to plan less and laugh more. So what I want you to do right now, is I want you to think of one thing that gives you joy today. One thing that gives you joy today. And we're going to do this. I'm going to give you 10 seconds. Here we go. Let us pray. Loving God, doom and gloom is so 6 months ago. Doom and gloom is out. Revival is in. Help us not to dwell on yesterday's plans. Help us to rejoice in the new thing that you are doing. Now it springs forth. Do we not perceive it? We ask for peace and healing for all those who have COVID-19 and their families. Comfort those who mourn. Give strength to our healthcare heroes. Provide for the unemployed through our hands. Please multiply the good work of Connect and help us to choose love over fear this day and always. Amen. Friends, now let's go to our revival video.
Right when we think our story is written for us, when we are told to dream smaller, settle more, and believe less, we stage our comeback. We may have histories filled with instability and inequity, but they don't define us. This is our comeback. When newspapers only tell one side of our story and leave out the friendship, the fellowship, the support, this is our comeback. When we are forced to change jobs or switch directions, when our life takes a different path, this is our comeback.
Our community members are engaged. They're active participants in the community. They come together. This community is very special, and if we're going to start somewhere doing this community, purpose-built community work, I think the Gulfton Sharpstown area is the best place to start.
See, a comeback isn't a bad thing. It doesn't mean we were pushed down or defeated. It means we stood up, fought back, and kept going. We've traversed mountains and crossed oceans. We are sparks of hope waiting to grow. We are believers in a future where our children and our children's children will rise above us. We've all had a comeback. In fact, it's not a comeback, it's our revival. when we felt helpless, discouraged, or uncertain, when moving forward felt impossible, this is our revival. When we worked hard, broke barriers, and achieved the unthinkable, this is our revival. When we overcame disasters, showed a hand to our neighbors, and became more resilient, this is our revival. When financial crashes, job instability, and pandemics blurred our everyday, this is our revival. When we stand united, knowing our future is better together, this is our revival. Our revival makes us stronger. Our future will be brighter, and we will rise up again.
As Pastor David says, help us to choose love over fear. Every time I watch that video, I get so excited at how far we've come in the last 5 years, but especially our families. So inspiring. Welcome everyone, and thank you for participating in our virtual luncheon experiment today and for leaning into what revival looks like in Gulfton. I can tell you that in the past 48 hours, I have developed a much greater appreciation for everything a newscaster needs to juggle. Live streaming events are complicated. I'm Ann Whitlock, and I'm the founding director of Connect Community, a nonprofit community development organization which began 6 years ago in partnership with the residents of Gulfton to build on the community's strengths and address its challenges. To start off, there are so many people who have made Connect and its mission possible. First, a big thank you to our co-chairs, Laura and Galen Hines-Pierce, for agreeing to chair in the midst of both a pregnancy and a pandemic. And thank you to our very generous and steadfast underwriters and the many more of you here today who've invested in our success. To our board and our 4 founding organizations, St. Luke's United Methodist Church, KIP, Legacy Health, and the Y. You have always been there for us when we needed you most. And my team, true to form, they have worked very hard over these last months to create a Connect signature event that is creative, authentic, and embodies the spirit of our Gulfton community. I hope you've had the opportunity to test out some of the recipes that we've included in the gift box. They are very good, especially with fresh Gulfton spices. And finally, I'd like to thank our elected officials who have supported our work in so many ways. If you haven't already, please take the time to go vote. And now I'm excited to announce that we have a very special visitor we have a very special visit from our representative from the 7th District, who's going to share a few words with us about the neighborhood. Please give your warmest virtual applause for Congresswoman Lizzie Fletcher.
Thank you so much, Anne, and good morning. I'm so glad to be with all of you virtually today. Thank you to Galen and Laura. Thank you to everyone who has made this event such a success. And it is such a privilege for me to have just a minute to address you this morning. I know that 2020 has been a difficult year for so many in our community, with uncertainty and loss and challenges that we didn't imagine just a year ago. But Connect has been a bright light, helping us see our way through in this moment. And today's theme really speaks to that, to hope and community in this theme of revival. And we have seen this year, especially, the magnitude of the work to be done to respond to this pandemic and its disparate impact in our communities. It will take all of us working together, but I know that we can and that we will. And Connect is exactly the reason why. Connect does so much that is vital to the health and well-being of our community at all times, and certainly in this moment, lifting up our Gulfton community and our entire community in doing so. And all of you who are supporting this organization and who are here today are critical to that work. So I want to take the opportunity to thank you so much for your support of this wonderful organization. It represents the very best of our diverse and dynamic and caring community, one where those things are celebrated and valued. And I am so proud to represent this diverse and dynamic and caring community in the United States Congress. I do believe in our revival that we are talking about here this morning. I believe in our community, and I believe in you. So thank you so much for including me today, and thank you, most important, for the work that you do.
Thank you, Congresswoman, for making time to be with us this morning and for your hopeful words about Gulfton and our work. So, 2020 and revival. The two words don't really seem to fit together. Seems almost like an oxymoron or a cruel joke. And yet, this year has forced all of us to focus on what matters most. Long-standing racial inequities, civil and political unrest, a pandemic and resulting unemployment. Everything seems like it's coming home to roost. We've experienced what feels like volumes of history that will be written by future generations in a matter of just a few months. So many of us have wrestled with the times, and yet it has given us an opportunity to use our time and our voices in new ways. On a personal note, I was secretly delighted at the beginning of the pandemic when our household essentially got a do-over of the high school years, when all of our children came home for 2 months. Gone was the chaos and the worry of trying to manage teenagers and curfew. And instead, we got to hang out with young adults who were engaging and supportive, just the salve we needed for an anxious time. But fun family reunions aside, the facts are not lost on me. Gulfton has been hit hard by the pandemic, and we have lost so many. So very many. The meaning of revival is an improvement in the condition or strength of something. And by all measures, Gulfton residents are strengthening and improving their community. Residents have faced harrowing challenges with grace, grit, and an unwavering commitment to the pursuit of a revival for themselves and their loved ones. And in many respects, the same is true for the work of Connect. We have year after year found ourselves in the trenches, locked in arms with community members pushing for better conditions. And through our collective efforts this year, we have accomplished a lot despite the pandemic. For example, we are transforming the housing landscape in a neighborhood that hasn't seen new development in decades. Together with our partner Brinshore, we will build a new 77-unit mixed-income multifamily development on Gulfton's Main Street at the corner of Hillcroft and High Star. This development will also include a textile lab in order to continue our sewn goods work with industry partners and provide micro retail spaces to incubate new businesses. But as our Brinshore partner can attest, this project simply would not have happened if it weren't for residents who stepped up and wrote letters to city officials, showed up to city council meetings, and advocated for what they wanted. Strengthening through engagement. We are also making the roads and sidewalks safer and more connected. As you may recall, last year I spoke about our high school road safety interns who so deftly translated their daily interactions with the street to inform the redesign of Hillcroft. Not only will we have amazing new walkable and bikeable streets next year, and right in front of our new housing development, I might add, but our interns continue to represent the neighborhood at local and international conferences, strengthening through engagement. We have created jobs by galvanizing a collective of skilled sewers, and we have produced over 75,000 masks to date. For some, their participation has earned them their very first paychecks ever. Getting a taste of US entrepreneurism, they wanted more. Independently, they have enrolled themselves in English classes, computer classes, and most importantly, started to use their voices to ask questions and push. Well, what's next? How do I start my own business? Where do I go to get capital? Strengthening through engagement. In the Revival booklet we sent you, you may have read the story of Hala. I met Hala almost 5 years ago at Sutton Elementary, where she was a shy volunteer that stuck close to her husband's side. But with time, she evolved into the natural leader she is today. And it's been so rewarding to watch her discover her hidden talents and grow in her self-confidence to make her community better. She just became a US citizen and exercised her right to vote. Watch out, Lizzie. I fully expect her to run for office one of these days. But beyond the community work, it brings joy to my days to just drop in on Hala and Baha, get the update from the kids, indulge in great food, check in on Baha's birds, and get pitched on Hala's latest business ideas. They have instilled in me the notion that together we are all sewn into the fabric of this community. And I have been strengthened by their engagement. And now I'd like to introduce a person who so perfectly captures for me the essence of revival. In 2006, Wigdan Abdullah was a happily practicing doctor in her home country of Sudan when she made the decision to pick up and follow her husband to the US. Recognizing she faced a daunting challenge to get relicensed in the US, she wasted no time. She got a full-time job as a medical specialist at the Houston City Jail and began studying for the 3 steps of the US medical licensing exam, all while being pregnant, leading her fellow students to joke that she should have named her 3 children Step 1, Step 2, and Step 3. Wigdan has endured the loss of her homeland, her profession as a doctor, and tragically her child. I first met Wigdan 4 years ago when her young son, Mohammed, tragically passed. It was in that moment that Connect made a commitment to the Abdullahs and the neighborhood that it would work to make streets safer. Raw fortitude and a trust in God saw her through it. Raw fortitude continues to propel her forward. Please give me a big virtual welcome to Wigdan Abdullah, who will, in her own voice, share her story.
The Connect community team continues to be inspired by Wigdan's resilience and her resolve to push forward. We decided to sit down to have a virtual conversation with Wigdan and learn more about her story and what has inspired her to continue forward. The following is a recording from the conversation.
Actually, before I moved to the US, I lived a very happy life, although it was kind of busy, but it was happy. So part of my life, most of my life, I lived in the capital of Sudan, but there is a part where I lived in the countryside. So I enjoyed some of the nature over there. And there was always like, in the middle of the night, especially the time when I was in the countryside, where somebody is sick or somebody needs any medical help or any medical attention, and the service was not that good, so I was always thinking of I should do something about it, When I came to the US, it's a long story that I have to start all over again. I moved to the US in December of 2006. So, and I immediately started preparing for my USMLE, and immediately, like within 3 months, I bought my books and my things. But I got pregnant with my son, and I had a very bad morning sickness. So I had to stop for almost like 6 or 7 months before I could start again, Then I started again, and then my son started, growing and needs a lot of attention. So that is how it goes. So I did my first step in 2008, then I did the second one with the 2 bars in 2009. And so I applied on that year, so not 2009, 2010. So the first time I applied for residency was 2010. It didn't work. Then in 2011, I went and I added step 3. And again, it didn't work. Then I heard about this job at the jail. Then I applied, and luckily for me, I got the position. That was in September 2012. It wasn't a physician because that was not our title. Although we do everything like a physician, but our title was jail medical specialist. So, and that is how we introduce ourselves. You cannot say a physician because we're not hired as physician. You know, I did a lot of nights because of my little children, and the way they put the schedule, always they take the most senior people choose first. So I always didn't have a good chance to choose. And whenever I get into a chance to choose between evening and night, I choose night because evening is just gonna take me away from the children, you know? So I did a lot of nights, and nights where you have the worst case scenario that can happen. Life is always ups and downs, and not everything goes the way we like, you know? And I believe not getting into a medical residency is a kind of a step that prepared me of losing my son later. He was always lovable child. Everybody loves him. He had very sweet smile and sweet talk. But things happen, you know, and we just lost him, you know. We still live with him. He's still with us at every time and every moment. So it's not an event. It's not something that happened and ended. No, it happened and it continues to be happening. You know, you live with it the whole time. You know, you never go out for lunch or for dinner and sit with children in the table and not remember that one who is not here today. So I found this really amazing program at Florida International University, where it is specifically designed for foreign educated physicians. So it takes into account all what we have instead of starting like from the beginning. And that is the reason going to Miami. It wouldn't be my choice, you know. It wasn't easy for me. Even my nephew was talking to me the other day. My nephew is 22 years old. So when I started my medical school into 1998, he was like a couple months old. And then he asked me the other day, wait, then what are you doing now? I said, oh, I'm finishing some class. And he said, Auntie, are you still doing school? Because all of his life, he sees me in the school. It was like, wow, how can I explain to him the whole situation? It was difficult, you know? They're always busy. Like when I come home, my children are waiting for me. My husband, he takes advantage of I'm here around, so he has to drop everything at home and run to do whatever he wants to do outside of the house. Because it's like his only break. So when I come at work, at home is always busy. Over there, when I go, I try to do as much as I can because I know when I come home, I have to do a lot of things too. So it's always been a busy life. And that is the time when one of my supervisor at the jail, she said, oh, I don't know why you fly with them all the time. I said, you know what? That's the best time for me when I'm in the flight or when I'm in the Uber going from the airport, because this is the 2 times I don't have responsibility. This is the times that I can just lay down, close my eyes, even if I don't sleep. I just don't want to hear, I don't want to see. I just want to take that time to myself. Hold on 1 second. My daughter is just making a lot of noises. Roha, go with that for me. I'm back.
Revival. Wigton uses her strength to engage, push, and change her future. These characteristics are embodied by so many of our community members. Hala, Sara, Erika, Sandra, Taiba, Baha, Mohammed, Maria, Amal, and so many more. As this pandemic wears on, perhaps we all need to do more pushing, engaging, and changing in order to strengthen and unite for our common future. Help us to choose love over fear. Thank you all for sharing your time with us today. Although we can't see you, we can feel you. And if you feel so inspired, please do let us know what you thought of today's event. We need your feedback to feel the love. May next year be in person. We miss you all so much. And I'll turn it back to Galen now to close us out. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Pastor Horton, and especially Wigton for sharing your very moving personal story. It really exemplifies the theme of revival, of honoring past and uniting to look forward to the future that we're all going to be building together.
Certainly the theme of revival and honoring our past and uniting for our future is something that is especially poignant for us this year with the passing of my grandfather, Gerald Hines, happening just 2 weeks before the birth of our son, August. For my grandfather, he really was a huge lover of Houston, a huge supporter of the city. And, I think that really stems from the fact that, he was able to be lucky enough to come here with really not much more than a reservation at the Y and build a future for himself. I think that that's really something that Connect strives to do for the residents of Gulfton and Sharpstown.
Yeah, I think that's right. So many residents of the communities that Connect serves are really building their economic foothold, in many cases for the very first time here in this country. And because of that, the work that Connect does, I think really exemplifies some of the best of our community, of our state, of our country. And so it's especially important this year as we look to sort of begin to rebuild and continue these themes of uniting for our future, looking ahead, and thinking about the world that we want to reemerge into as we transition out of this pandemic. And so thank you again for showing up today, and really want to encourage you, if you're able to contribute financially. Again, Connect is a very lean, small but mighty nonprofit. They don't do a ton of social events and galas, and this year especially is going to be very, very important for the work that they're doing to help in reviving Gulfton and Sharpstown and the residents and communities that they serve. So again, if you can contribute, it should be very easy and streamlined using the tool in the app. And please give what you can, and we really appreciate it, and thank you very much.
Thank you.